Welcome, amazing agents and investors from across the country. Today is Thursday, March 5th, 2020, and this is Mastermind call number 268. We have 6 in the queue, guys. Great job. Hit star 6 and hit 1. And we usually have room for 10 to 12 callers, so don't get shut out. We do try to end the call as close to 1 hour as we can. We want to respect all of your time. Let's get back to work. But 6 in there now, so hit star 6 and hit 1 if you would like to be the 7th. Anything you want to share, partners, before we get started?
Not
I don't have anything.
I'm good.
All right. Well, let's jump in. The first call says toll-free call, which is a good thing. No name, but phone number ending in 0647. You're up first.
Yes, hi everybody. My name is Michael. I just started your program last month. I'm very excited. I just got my first listing a couple of days ago. Can you hear me?
Great. Yeah, we can hear you. You say you just started, and with your first batch of leads, you got a listing already?
Yes, exactly. Yes, I got the listing, and I even didn't start calling, these people yet. I just did that mail out, so she called me from one of my letters. So, so I'm working right now on my scripting, and I have a question for you. The first question is, how would you suggest, what would be the best way to build like a good team of people helping you with probate? I know that you guys did, pretty extensive info on working with the attorneys, but I have a question about other team members. How would you suggest, to take care of it? That's my first question.
Sure.
So
the easiest way to understand this is really put yourself in the personal rep's position, right? Understand what problems might they have. So they have this big house full of 60 years worth of stuff. They live out of town. They don't know what to do. They don't have trucks. They don't have time to take off of work. So the obvious partners that you want are contractors, clean-out crews, estate sale companies, maybe even senior moving companies. What you'll find is once you get started, you'll see many other ways to serve them and kind of raise your standard of service. So you'll start to add in like social workers and nursing home employees and, people who can help rehome people. We see a lot of people tend to overthink it and think they have to have a dream team before they get started. So I'm glad to hear you pulled the trigger and found quick success, and now you're like, all right, I got to shore this thing up. So the long form,
I'm very excited.
In Probate Mastery, I actually have built this out into a mind map where we kind of go through like 3 to 4 dozen different vendor partners. And I'll show you not only why, like who they are, but all the different ways they can help the family. And I give you 2 or 3 different ways to find each one. That's about 35, 40 minutes. So it's kind of outside of the scope of this call, but it is in the Probate Mastery course, which is $250, and you'll kind of get a long form version of that. So not only will we show you who you can and should have, but other kind of creative possibilities of partners you can find and why they're important. For example, I think on 2 mastermind calls ago, or maybe it was last week, we actually, we had a social worker on the call. We were talking about how you can help. But so anyway, Mastery is the best place I can point you to really get the full version of how you build your team, how you find those people, what specifically what they can do to bring value to you and your clients. That's where I would suggest if you haven't taken it. Sounds like you haven't. And if you sign up for Mastery now, the March class isn't scheduled. We just finished February. We'll send you the recordings immediately, and then I'll register
I would be interested.
The next live class.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Chad. One more question. I know that you guys mentioned about going starting some kind of full version of coaching program. How soon are you planning on doing that, like one-on-one type of coaching?
So right now we're slowly rolling this out. We're trying to do a lot of things at the same time. Right now what we do, we have obviously your onboarding call when you first sign up. Within the first 7 to 14 days when you get your leads, we'll do a 15-minute coaching call. and then every month thereafter, we'll give you at least a 15-minute coaching call as long as you want to continue that. We haven't moved into like the full-blown like advanced coaching, but the vision there is to be able to have, if you feel like you want weekly accountability and you want to go deeper on and digging into this, the vision is to have that in place. It's just not right now. If you want to have a conversation, you can just email support at all the leads and kind of write out what you're looking for, what your needs are, and we may be able to put something together just for you right now. But just for everybody else listening, we don't have a full-blown coaching program built out. We are moving in that direction.
And Chad,
that's good to know.
You might want to share with everybody also, because we have a significant number of people that are taking advantage of the free coaching, but we have a lot that haven't responded. So if somebody does want to get on that regular schedule, it'll be either me or Tom. Most of the calls probably will be me personally. Tell them what's the best way. Do we have a link or just support? What's the best way to get signed up?
Well, right now you can just email support at all the leads. We do have coaches calendars, and it will be built into your subscriber portal. We just haven't released the full program yet. But if you're interested in getting on the coaching schedule, just email support at alltheleads.com and put something in the subject line about subscriber coaching. And I know there's a lot of folks on this call that are non-subscribers. When we first announced coaching, we had a lot of non-subscribers that wanted coaching, and as much as we'd love to give that to you, that's what these calls are for. The actual one-on-one coaching is for subscribers only. So if you are a subscriber and you're interested in getting on that schedule, just email support at all the leads, and we'll certainly get you started with with your monthly calls. And if you feel like you want weekly accountability and a higher level of coaching, then let us know what your needs are, and we'll see what we can put together.
I will. Okay, very good.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Congratulations. Right now you're in first place for the winner of the week. You got a listing with your first batch of leads. Great job.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so before we let him go, let's talk about that.
I just moved on to the next caller. I'm sorry. We do have 8 people in the queue. Michael, if you'd sign back in, Chad wanted to question you a little bit about the details, and just hit *6 and hit 1 again, and maybe we'll take you next. In the meantime, phone number ending in 2549. You're up next.
Yeah, hi, this is Hudson. I'm in Kalispell, Montana. Anyhow, I've got a listing coming up. It's a lot that was inherited. The deceased died in 2010, and they're just getting to cope with doing something with this property. So, but my question is really about seller financing and how should I approach that? And these guys might be a good source of money in the future as well.
So, do you know how title was held before when the deceased passed? Have you looked at the chain of title?
No, I haven't looked at the chain of title. It's currently held in a partnership by the 2 heirs. It's actually son and daughter have formed a partnership.
The title has transferred into that partnership?
Yes.
Okay, that's good news. So that means, I'm not sure, it probably doesn't have to be part of probate. Well, so probate was filed, correct?
Probate, yes. This is not part of probate. This came to me as a completely separate path.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, so owner financing is great for land. You can sell at a premium. You can make it attractive for people who are trying to combine, financing strategies to get a place built. What specific questions do you have? I mean, it sounds like it's in a position where you can easily do that.
Yes, I understand seller financing. That's pretty much standard stuff. But what I'm thinking about is how do I convert these guys into a source of money in the future? You know, I'm
The owner?
I'm just I'm just looking at.
You're looking to turn them into a private money lender in the future, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, that's okay. I'm putting the pieces together now. So I would approach them on this deal and say, you know, guys, listen, do you have a buyer for the land?
No, not at the moment.
Okay. But I would approach them and say, you know, listen, I've done some research. I think this parcel is worth X if we go to a conventional market, but I think we can drive the price X% if we offer this on terms. And here's a proposal that I've kind of written out so you can see what that looks like. We would offer it with, you know, a 20% down payment, and then you would carry a first with a 30-year amortization, an 8 to 10% interest rate with a 5-year balloon. And at the end of that 5 years, I'm really interested in showing you how to continue making money at that rate. So, for example, one of my investors will take money at 1 point and 15%, and that's going to give you an 18 to 19% annual yield. You'll always hold a first position. It'll be right here in town. And if they mess up, you'll double your money. If they don't mess up, you're still going to double your money every 4 years. Does that sound interesting?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah. No, that's all. I just wanted to get my head around how to approach them to turn them into lenders.
All right. Great job.
Have you done the?
Go ahead,
Hudson,
Chad.
have you done the research on the land? You know about what it's worth?
Yeah, I know about what it's worth. It's close to $300,000, and my proposal was to list it at $295, but you know, if we can get more for it by using owner financing, I've already discussed the potential.
Oh, sure, they'll make a lot more money.
Yeah.
One of the things that what I would encourage you to do to prepare for your appointment, there's some online loan amortization tools where you can go in and put your loan terms in and then print out the full amortization schedule. So you can actually hand it to them in black and white. Like if we do this at $300,000 with 20% down and a 10% rate on a 30-year AM on a 5-year balloon, here's how much more money you make. And I would just say be prepared to show them what that net figure is. Like you're going to make X amount more if you let me do it this way.
Right.
All right.
Yeah. What are the links to? You know, where do I find those?
If you just do like I used to do these, I would include them with all my owner finance deals as an addendum to the contract. And if you just Google loan amortization calculator, there'll be a whole bunch of them will pop up, and then put in your rate and terms, and then like most of them you can say, you know, show full amortization schedule and print, and it's in just a couple of minutes you can run one.
Okay, good. Thanks, Chad.
All right. Well, we have 9 in the queue, but Mike popped back up to tell us the story of how he did the deal. Welcome back, Mike.
Yes, thank you. So I pretty much sent out 100 letters because I'm getting that was my first batch of leads, you know, for February. And, you know, a couple of days later, she called me, so I did talk to her briefly on the phone. I did schedule the appointment. And actually, I had to come back, you know, to do the paperwork because she wanted to talk to her sister, and she did claim initially that she had no number, so she couldn't call her during the initial appointment. So anyway, just to make the story short, she came back, she signed the paperwork. I listed the property 2 days ago. Basically, I asked her why she decided to work with me. You know, she told me that because I was going through the same experience that she's going through right now, because I was in the same shoes a couple of years ago. So that was her main reason, and you know, it was pretty much good conversation. She was very cooperating, so I guess I got lucky in a way.
So have you been on the phones as well? So that was you sent 100 letters and got 1 inbound.
Yes.
Was that your own?
Your
only inbound?
Yeah, that was my only inbound phone call. I didn't start any phone calls as of yet. I'm planning on doing that, getting that started next week.
Well, that's
I just need
great.
to
And
listen to more.
it sounds like
Yeah.
It sounds like this house was pretty much ready for market. You didn't have to do much extra work or bring anyone in. You just kind of did what you're best at.
Yes, exactly. I guess it was good timing. You know, it happens from time to time. But I'm really, trying to put more effort into, starting getting these phone calls and start connecting with more people. That's my goal.
So, just for everybody listening, we talk about a lot of advanced and problematic things here, and a lot of the stuff that you hear on these calls is, us kind of being a solution or a transaction engineer. Well, the story you just heard is more typical. Like in my experience, most of these aren't much work. The sellers are extremely grateful to have the relief and just hand it over to you. And for the most of them, and we talk about building this big dream team, but on a typical deal, you'll use 0 to 3 vendors max. They just don't get. They're not usually that complex. So it's nice to hear the real life stories of the simple, easy deals, because that's pretty much how they were in my business. Like I would walk into a situation like you did. I would list it at 80 to 90 cents on the dollar, and we would be overrun with landlord offers, and we would sell it off usually in the first day or two. We'd have ratified contracts unless I held back and called for offers. So get used to doing deals like that, because you're going to find a lot of them are going to be that easy and that straightforward, and these are the best clients you'll ever work with. Like, they're the most grateful people.
Exactly.
Thanks for sharing, Mike. Thanks for coming back. And I noticed, Michael,
Thank you.
Michael, you're in a very competitive market, and you're only getting a partial list of deals. So after you get this closed, I'd expand to take the whole county. Once you get you get some traction. That'd be a great. Yeah. All right, buddy.
Exactly.
Great job. Thank you. Next up is phone number ending in 4828. You're up next.
Hi, my name is Mary Jane. I'm in Kansas City. I just got my first batch of leads, and my question is, I noticed that 31 out of 47 of them, the a personal representative and several people below them are on the do not call list. I'm sure I'm not the first person to run across this, so I'm wondering how to get around that.
So the DNC validation is something we first did to protect our own assets. As a call center, you have a large target on your back, and attorneys, more so than the FTC, the attorneys are looking for somebody to slip up, right?
Oh, yeah.
As an individual practitioner, you have far less liability, and most people, you have to assess your own risk, but most people go ahead and call. We have had the legal opinion that these people are, at least in an interim, in the interim, they're acting as a public representative of an estate. So when you open that public period for creditors, that 4-month period especially, we have had the legal opinion that you have the right to contact those people. And some people will even argue that you're not directly soliciting them. You're offering to, you're reaching out to offer a service, and you're offering to buy the house. It's not a direct solicitation. But in the 6 years of doing this and literally millions and millions of phone calls, we've never had. The worst thing that I'm aware of that's ever happened to a customer is in New York City. They got a call from somebody from the FTC office. It was an attorney. They didn't even bother writing a letter. It was just a simple phone call that said, hey, we got a complaint that you called somebody on DNC. And the customer just said, yeah, they notified me. I took them off the list, and it was over. So it wasn't even a slap on the wrist. That's the harshest thing we've seen happen. The DNC validation can sometimes be intimidating, but but it was really something we had to do it to protect our assets. So we just pushed it through to you guys for those of you that really want to know. But for the most part, you're going to be fine. Most people are making those calls.
All right, thanks.
All right, perfect. Next up is phone number ending in 0181.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I had a quick question. I had a client. I came back in town who has a reverse mortgage. There is equity. I guess my question was more about the pricing strategy you guys use. This is going to be it's not going to be a wholesale, so it's going to be a retail situation. It just from our conversation on the phone, it seemed a bit you know what I mean, like they have higher expectations than what I've seen just from my research. So it's, you know what I mean, from a broker standpoint, just curious what you guys, how you attack it just from a pricing standpoint and deal with somebody who may have unrealistic expectations in terms of what the unit can sell for or the property can sell for.
This is Alex, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So you in Mastery, I showed you how I do a market absorption analysis.
Yes.
You remember that? So using the market absorption analysis, what you're doing, you're drawing a 2-year trend. So it brings people down to reality pretty quickly. And the reason I use that, that's something I kind of took from the commercial real estate world, but it can be overwhelming, and that's kind of the purpose. So if they have unrealistic price expectations, you can, show them what it looks like. And I'll try to summarize for everybody else. A market absorption analysis, you basically take 2 years worth of data and compare the absorption rate so you can kind of guess the time on market, or you can guess the price based on the time you're willing to be on the market. And you have to find a balance. So like homes that sell find a balance between the two. Homes that don't sell are overpriced and sit on the market forever, right? I typically use the market absorption. If I do find myself in a price confrontation, I'll pull the market absorption analysis out. So we have 2 data sets, 12 to 24 months ago and 12 months ago to today. And then I'll have a sheet that's half filled out and half not, and I'll do it in front of them. And I'll say, based on everything I see here, just what the market is telling me, what's your target? We agreed to the target date of X. So set a target date as the anchor, and then go back and say, in order to sell in that amount of time, you need to be on the market by this date. And in order to get that under contract to hit that date, we would need to be priced around X. And then you can back it up. You can show them expired listings. You can show them who they're competing with actively and how long those have been on the market. It's easy to see the homes that are overpriced, even if you're just looking at a spreadsheet. And eventually their eyes will start to glaze over and they'll realize, man, this guy really knows his stuff. And then you can grab your blue pen, grab the listing agreement, and say, my suggestion is that we actually list about 10% below market. And they're going to flinch. And when they flinch, be like, I'm glad you reacted that way, because it's important that you understand and you trust my pricing strategy. We've actually been able to drive prices 14% above what our projected sale price by listing 10% below. Does that make sense? Okay, let me explain it a different way. So you understand supply and demand, right? So economics is largely driven by supply and demand. So if we have less buyers, then we have a less, we don't have as strong of a negotiating position. If we have 5 buyers, then we can negotiate the price up. And I like to pride myself as a trained negotiator, and I know how to use human emotion against the other side. So we'll use fear of loss to our advantage, and we'll call for offers, and we'll actually drive this price above what I think we can sell it for. So if you're willing to trust me and let me do this strategy, you're in control. You can always say no. You don't have to. You can reject any offer. You don't even have to counter. So there's no way this can really backfire on you. It can backfire on me, but I trust the process, and I know that this has worked in the past. So we're going to list 10% under market. We're going to call for offers. So we'll list it on a Friday. We won't even look at offers until the following Friday. And I'll manage the expectations of the buyer's agents and the buyers. So don't worry, we're not going to lose anything. What this does, this creates sort of an auction mentality. And what we found is we can drive prices 14% higher for the sellers who are willing to trust our pricing strategy and trust that this is what we do every day and we're the professionals. So can you count on me to do that? Or can you believe in me to do this strategy and maximize the equity for your family? And then hand them the blue pen.
And I've been on the Mastery. Obviously, I know how to do a CMA, but how do you come up with the MMA? Is that like, do you have?
So our MLS, the system I'm using now is Flex MLS. So I go in and I do same number of bedrooms, same number of baths, 10 years older, 10 years newer, 10% larger, 10% smaller, the same style, and sometimes I'll put Cape Cods and ranches in the same. I'll put those in the same data set because the same buyers will buy those houses, but I would never put like a 4-level split and a ranch home because they're different buyers. So the same types of houses, the same, general pricing or build date and number of bedrooms, baths, and then do a quarter-mile radius. What you're looking for is a comp set of at least, like I like to see at least 12 to 16 in each data set, because then you have a good mix. You can some are expired, some are closed, some are active, some are pending. And then I do what's called a summary CMA. So it basically just exports a thumbnail photo, and then I set up my custom columns. So I have days on market, cumulative days on market, square footage, bedrooms, baths, year built, basically all those parameters that I'm searching by I set up in my columns. And then you just hit print, and it rolls out a single page with that data set. And then I use that to fill in the market absorption analysis.
Is the Flex MLS, that's a national thing, or is that was that a local?
It's so I don't know, maybe 25% of MLS is nationwide. Use Flex, some use CoreLogic. I don't know, whatever. Like I've used Paragon as one of the other ones that I had when I was in Hawaii. So it's all of them will have a similar thing. Like what you're looking for is to go back 2 years to like 24 months to 12 months and grab a data set, and then go 12 months to current and grab a second one. And you're going to compare those, and that helps you spot the trend and what's happening in the market. And what you're really focused on is median price, average price, days on market, and that's really it, and how that relates to each of the listing status, sold, expired, pending.
So I have 2 appointments. Go ahead.
But even if you don't do that, even if you just do a simple CMA, you can use the same tactic. And if you like what I first tried this with my own houses. So I said, what if we just treat residential real estate like commercial real estate? And what if we can, how do you get an auction mentality in a non-distressed sale when there's no auction? So I would list on Thursday evenings, so it would come up Friday morning and hit the hot sheet for the weekend. And in the private remarks, it would say, see documents, all offers, no offers, we won't respond to offers until that next Friday at 5 p.m. Now, you're going to get you'll have some friction from the buyer's agents because they don't like this, but it drives the price for your seller, and that's what your job is. So we would list on Thursday evening, it would hit the hot sheet. You would start to see showings around Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. Monday would be, you would have multiple showings on Monday, Tuesday. Offers would start rolling in Monday evening. And then I would call and thank the buyer's agent for their offer and explain to them that the seller was going to review offers on Friday at 5 p.m. And by the way, we're not in the business of pitting agents against agents or clients against clients. So if you didn't make your best offer, please do that before Friday. Send me a contract amendment. Almost always, almost 100% of the time, I would get contract amendments on each offer because a lot of people think negotiating is about hitting low and meeting in the middle, and that's what poor negotiators do. Like, but I would basically create a highest and best situation. They didn't even know how many offers there were. I never lied. Like, if I didn't have multiple offers, I would be upfront about that. But I almost always had multiple offers. And people would be falling all over themselves on Friday evening, and it would be clear which one was the winning offer. But we were able to get highest and best offers, minimize the amount of back and forth in the negotiation, and drive the price up double-digit percentages for all the sellers. And I started doing this first on my flip houses, and it worked beautifully on like a brand new, fully renovated house with a warranty. And then I was like, I talked to one of my probate sellers, and I'm like, are you willing to try this? Like, let me try what I'm doing with my houses? And she said yes, and it was the same result. No matter the condition of the home, no matter the price point, this has worked consistently for me. So if you can, when you have that kind of a conversation with someone, they're going to realize you probably are way more knowledgeable than they are. And at some point, they'll usually submit and be like, okay, we'll trust you. And I showed you how you don't have any real risk. You can always say no. You can reject the offers. You don't have to take anything. And at worst, I'm risking my reputation. You'll fire me because it didn't work out. And, I understand my risk, but I also know that what I'm telling you is true and in your best interest. Here's the blue pen.
Gotcha. And you always take a listing agreement with you to any appointment.
Yeah, and it's pre-filled. I use whatever info I have on the tax card and from the initial conversation. So, when you get to that kind of emotional high point when you're getting the listing, I don't want them to sit there for 6 minutes and watch me fill out a listing agreement. It's just awkward. So I have a pre-filled agreement. Basically everything but the date field and the price field is already completed, and that's all we have to do. So I'll write in the date. I'll say today's date, it goes here. The date we're going to go on MLS is here, and that just leaves the price. So let's talk about this. Based on everything I've heard from you, I think X is that our strategy should be X. And then I'll just spin the contract around and hand them the pen, and they'll usually just sign it right there. They don't even ask a question.
Gotcha. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Next up, we had a few people drop out of the queue, so we do have room for more. Next up is phone number ending in 3605. You're up next.
Good morning. It's Joyce Ornson Morris calling from Orange County, California.
Hey, Joyce.
Chad, I remember that in our last mastery class, you talked about the insurance that you have, and I have replayed that recording over and over because it's just a couple 3 sentences that you said, but I can't find the insurance that you said you carry. And I was hoping you would tell me.
And you're talking about the life insurance, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I don't remember I was using that as a kind of an example of how to provide extreme value just to catch everybody else up. There's a financial product called an indexed universal life policy. And what it is, it's a whole life policy that's indexed to the S&P 500, not actually invested in the S&P 500. So this week when the S&P lost 15 points off the market, I stopped out, my IUL stopped out at 0. But last year when it was gaining 40%, I got 40% gains. So it's indexed, but it's not actually invested. So there's no downside risk. These are called, it was kind of a loophole that Congress left open conveniently for their own investments. They're called rich man's Roth is kind of the industry jargon for them. There's a lot of shady companies out there that they're very complex financial instruments. They're designed by the smartest actuaries in the world. The one that I trust, the one that I mentioned to you guys, it was originally, I originated mine through Minnesota Life. But Minnesota Life has now sold off at least that division to Securian Financial, so SECURIAN Financial. And so I've looked at a lot of them. Most of them have an upper limit, and they do have a floor of 0, but a lot of them will cap you out at like 7 or 8% gains. Well, the things I really like about the one that I just referenced is you have no ceiling, so your gains can be as high as the market's gains. You do have a 0% floor. The other thing that I really love about it, and I think why we brought it up in Mastery, is mine has a long-term care rider attached. So I have $11,000 a month. I put this in place when I was 35 years old. But even I have $11,000 a month in long-term care. I have disability insurance. I have a terminal illness accelerator. So if I am diagnosed with cancer, I can accelerate and have $1.5 million in bucket list money. So there's a lot of other riders that you can add to it, and we were discussing it in Mastery as kind of so you've gone through this. Let's shore up your estate and make sure you're in the best position you can be in. And these are really good tools for folks that they can set up, and it's partially investment, partially insurance. But there's other, like those riders can really bring a lot of value to families who don't have a long-term care plan, who don't have disability, so. But that's the one that it was. So it was an Index Universal Life from Securian Financial is the one I recommend.
Perfect. And the last rider, you said it was an accelerator. What is the first part of that?
So it's a terminal illness. If you're diagnosed with a terminal illness, you can accelerate the death benefit. So I think mine has a $1.5 million death benefit. So I can basically start drawing that as bucket list money if I have a terminal illness. What I might not have explained fully here, so like mine, I funded over the first 20 years. So I'll make an equal monthly payment for 20 years. At the end of that 20 years, I can basically convert this thing to a pension. So it pays me, I can either do a lump sum or a set amount And if you do a set amount, obviously that's smarter because you're leaving more money invested. But it acts a lot like a Roth IRA, but without any of the restrictions of an IRA. So if you change your mind and you want to dissolve the asset, then you can. If you don't want to contribute money one month, you don't have to. But it has all the tax benefits of an IRA, but none of the restrictions.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I have listened and listened, and I just couldn't find it.
All right, great. All right, next up is a familiar name. Aline, you are up next.
Thank you so much, Dim. Hi, good afternoon. So I actually had a very easy walk-in appointment that I just kind of wanted to share about and then ask another question on it. Similar to what you were saying before, Chad, where most of these appointments seem to be, you know, people are like, just get this off my hands as quickly as possible, and hopefully I can walk away with some, you know, some good money. So I walked into an appointment for a co-op. The person actually, I called. They saw that I had called. They called me back, and I was able to set up an appointment right away. And then I walked into the appointment, and he had at that point had just like had enough of, you know, trying to clean out on his own and doing whatever he's doing, and just it was like as simple as can be, basically. And it was and I found that one of the things that I took away from the last time I asked a question was, what do I bring in terms of a listing presentation? And I was complicating things a little bit for myself. And when you had said to me, you know, just simplifying it and really bringing down the paperwork and, you know, what you'll do for marketing and just keep it very simple and, you know, a CMA, it like took such a big load off, and it made a very big difference. So I was able to really more focus on, you know, what it is that they needed and what's right. Important to them, and be able to listen instead of focusing on the big and the glossy, which I really, funny enough, I never really did anyway, but I always just thought I needed it. So so that was just a really great aha. And I also just want to, I also wanted to just mention that the other two listings that I had taken previous, I did exactly that concept where I listed it on a Thursday night, and I actually held off showings until Sunday at the open house. And we were well beyond multiple offers by the time Sunday afternoon and Monday morning was. Because of that concept, because I feel that, and I've made the mistake before when I put a good property on the market in the middle of the week or at the beginning of the week, and then offers are coming in, it doesn't have enough time, I call it, doesn't have enough time to brew. And then it'd be able, then if somebody's, you know, giving you a full price offer and the offer is good, you can't really hold off taking or accepting that offer so much. You don't, you know, it's not the same, it loses that, what's the word, possibility of like really going to highest and best opportunities. That's, you know, that's what I found. So I definitely agree very much from a, you know, and I've used it myself where I've listed late on Thursday and then held off showings until the open house. I felt like I, you know, and that was awesome.
That's great.
So yeah. So a quick question that I actually have is on the estate part. What would you recommend is the best way when somebody is coming in and it's the estate of some, like a particular client that I have, it's her mother's house. It's the mother's estate. And how is there a way to figure out if things are all up to par before they get to the attorney? Or is there not really a way of doing that, like they really have to hire an attorney first to get all that information?
So I usually ask in the initial conversation, you remember in Mastery how I do what I call the insulation clause? So as I'm wrapping up the conversation, I'm like, oh, one more thing, and I do that intentionally to get them in a different mindset. But I asked, when you met with the probate clerk, she asked you to pull together the death certificate, a will, if there was one, list of assets, liabilities, heirs. Have you got all that stuff together, and has that been presented to the court? And if they say no, or I don't know what you're talking about, then that kind of throws some red flags right in the very beginning. And then you're going to have to do a little bit of hand-holding and help them get their ducks in a row. I'll tell you this,
Right.
It's very, very rare that you find one that hasn't done that, because typically the probate clerk will walk them through that, and it's, they usually have it done by the time you speak with them. But if they don't, then they're not ready to sell. They probably don't have their letters testamentary yet, because they haven't gotten that stuff to the court, and that's what the court needs to be able to give them the authority. So you have to backtrack a little bit and get it where you do have it. It's a sellable asset. But it's uncommon. You'll run into it sometimes. They will, they just won't have gotten it done because they're in probate quicksand, but most of the time they're ready.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Chad. So you said the way that you bring it in the conversation is you say to them, "Oh, by the way," and what was it? How did you phrase that exactly?
So I close out the conversation with a couple of things. So I'll reset at the end. Once we're done talking about the people, the house, the finances, and the timeline, then I'll be like, okay, well, and I'll confirm the appointment. I'll say, okay, well, I've got you down for Friday at 3. I've already sent you an email. Oh, you know what? I forgot one more thing, and I promise I'll let you go. When you met with the probate clerk, she asked you to pull together the list of assets, list of liabilities, the death certificate, the will, all those things, and you submitted that. Were you able to get all that together, and has it been submitted? Okay, great. The reason I ask, if you could bring that with you on Friday, we're actually going to make PDFs of it and send it over to the title company or the closing attorney. So when we have the home under contract, we'll be able to close the chain of title without them chasing you or chasing me. It's just one of the ways that we try to be proactive to make this even easier for you guys. Does that make sense? And you want to get the affirmation. So what I'm doing here is the first question I'm answering is this home ready to sell? Do they have the authority? Yep. The other thing I'm doing is I'm showing them, I'm presumptively closing. So if you notice what I said is we're going to make a PDF of that and get it over to the closing attorney. So when we have the home under contract, we'll be able to close the chain of title. So I'm using very inclusive language to help them feel like that they're already working with me. We haven't signed paperwork. We haven't even met. But if they're not flinching, if they're not objecting there, then the deal's done. I've already got it. I just need to show up and get some paperwork signed, right, and smile and shake hands. And then if anyone comes in behind me, the reason I call this the insulation clause is if anyone comes in behind me, it's highly unlikely they're going to be they're going to be using the same language and referencing specific documents and talking about being proactive and doing these things. So it creates a stark contrast if anyone does come in behind you, or if they've already met with someone else and they didn't sign, they're going to be impressed, right? They're like, my gosh, she really knows what she's doing. And they feel like you're already working for them. So that I started doing that not soon enough, but once I started doing that, the face-to-face appointments were like, they pretty much knew they were doing business with me when I showed up too. And it just became more fun and more easy. Once. So there's little things, a lot of the things like in Mastery, when we peel it apart, where we have more time to deal with it, like a lot of that stuff has just been slowly improved over time until I'm like, yes, I get a consistent result every time. And that was one of those things that I played with back and forth different ways, and I finally got it to where I got a consistent result of showing up to appointments where nobody had their arms crossed. People were back on their heels instead of up on their toes. Like it was just a whole different, the body language when I walked up to them was completely different. And I give a lot of credit to that, the way I close out the call. It makes them feel like they are on the phone with an expert, that I'm confident and I am the leader that can help them through this. And anyone else they talk to is, I mean, they're like on a scale of 1 to 10, they're down in the 2s and 3s compared to the conversation I just had with them, right? So it reinforces that credibility, and they're like, okay, we found the right person.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. I appreciate that.
Sure. Thank you for your win, Aline. You're in the hunt for sure for winner of the week. I think you've won it a couple times before, but we don't have a limit. You're always coming with great stories. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks so much, guys.
All right. We have 2 more in the queue, guys. That'll probably take us up nicely to the top of the hour. Next up is phone number ending in 5916. You're up next.
Hey, Chad. Good afternoon. This is Steve. Hey, I appreciate what you were just saying in regards to when you show up for the appointment. I know you said in the past that you're a physically imposing guy at 6'7". I too, as an Army officer, retired Army officer at 6'6", I know people say, hey, you can be intimidating. What do you do? I know you talk to people on the phone and you get them where you need to be. Like you said, you've already closed when you show up. They're more on their heels. But when you come in, do you notice that people will back off from you just because of physical size? And how do you adjust to that?
Yeah, and I use it to my advantage as well. It's more often a disadvantage, especially around people who are in a really stressful situation. They already feel kind of closed up. But if someone wants to be, if they want to be disrespectful, I can cross my arms and broaden my shoulders, and people literally just move out of the way. And
I know what you mean.
I had a lot of fun with that in resort real estate. People were just coming in to kick the tires because you're in Conopoli Beach. So I would just stand there and be like, oh, hey, welcome. And I would use really friendly language and raise the pitch of my voice. But if I crossed my arms and broadened my shoulders, they would be gone within a minute because it just made them extremely uncomfortable. So you can use it that way too. But the other end of that spectrum, to make people feel more comfortable, I'll actually so oftentimes they'll be on the front steps. Anytime I can get them on a higher step than me and I can take the low ground, I want to do that because I'm a head and a half, 2 heads taller than most of the people I meet with, right? So I try to take low ground. If we're all standing like on the same plane, then I will broaden my stance. Like I'll actually, instead of standing with my feet shoulder width apart, I'll stand with them, maybe 3 feet apart. And I learned this kind of waiting tables and just talking to people when you first meet. But they don't even notice. Like people don't look at your feet. That what they're looking at, they look you in the eye at that point. Instead of looking at at your sternum, they're looking you in the eye. So sometimes, like when people get to know me, they're like, "Why the hell do you stand like that?" And it's just become habit. But when people are just like, I don't ever see, like you rarely see people glance down. Like they don't even notice. So you come down to a more normal height, and they feel less threatened. So those are some of the tricks that I use, like try to find low ground, broaden your stance. The psychological thing, like I really make myself a goof. So we're pretty serious in a lot of these conversations, and I take this very seriously. I take all your all success seriously. But when I'm in an appointment, I'm kind of a different person. Like I'm a damn goofball because I don't want them to be intimidated by me. I want them to be comfortable. So I try to get them to tell me stories, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is such a cool house. And I'll single out one of the people in the appointment, and I'm like, tell me the most embarrassing story about this person that happened in this house. Like, you guys lived here for a long time, right? I know you've got stories. Let's hear them. Come on. And just get them to start telling you these funny or embarrassing stories about one of the people, and it's just like magic. They just bond with you. So I make myself goofy. I tell stupid jokes. Anything I can do to kind of downplay myself. Now, when we get back to the table, I do come to a different level of professionalism. But when I'm just in the beginning of it and building rapport is the most important at that time, that's when I'm being kind of a more jolly, goofy version of myself to put people at ease.
Okay. Now those are all great points because, like you said, when there's times we need someone who wants to be, for lack of a better term, obtuse, you can move in and you can level the field pretty quickly.
Yeah. And I've only had to do that a couple of times. I had one situation where I had one of the short sales, Jim, that we did together. It was a cousin that had moved into a house, and there were 6 brothers. And the cousin was an amputee. So I went the extra mile. I would go to him with paperwork. I would take everything to him and sit on the porch and talk with him. Well, he had cousins roll in one day, and they were racist, and I got confronted by 6 guys damn near my size, and I had to use my size to my advantage that day too because they were armed and I wasn't. So it's gotten me out of a couple of jams. But in probate, like one was a daughter, and she just got, I mean, her ego just took over, and she was a pure ego. And all I had to do was stand up and cross my arms, and I'm like, really? And she tucked her tail and folded like a little puppy. And but I had to, and her ego just shattered and broke down right in front of us. And her sister was like, "Thank you for doing that. You're so embarrassing." And I'm like, "Hey, guys, let's move forward." But the body language was all it took to just shut her down. And she was very pleasant the rest of the time, but she was showing her ass, and all it took was me standing up. I didn't say a word, and she just crumbled, and we moved forward. So you can use it to your advantage too when the time's right.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. The world full of bullies.
Yep. All right. Excellent. We have two more in the queue. That should bring us nicely up to the top of the hour. Next up is phone number ending in 6621. You're up next.
Hey, I live in a state where attorneys there's this law that prohibits attorneys from soliciting probate clients from public records, and it just so happens that my responsible broker is an attorney. So we've got this question where, I mean, how do you separate? I was wondering if you've run into that situation before.
So it's in every state, and as long as you're not soliciting for legal services, you're fine. If you're mailing to talk about non-legal services such as real estate, cleaning out houses, personal property solutions, you're fine. You can, and the way to use this to your advantage is you go to other attorneys and say, listen, I'm all too aware of your non-solicitation laws, but we work with, we try to reach out and speak to every family in the county each month that's going through probate, and what we realize is about 20 to 25% of them haven't chosen an attorney. They're pro per. So I would like to actually sit down with you and make a probate timeline or a probate checklist, and we'll put your name on that, and we'll actually include it in our real estate letter, just with you as a trusted partner. And we've tested this. We've had state attorney generals look at this in other states, even in California, and they say it's completely compliant. So it's a bit of a loophole, but it's a way for me to know that my clients I've done all I can to make sure they're taken care of. And it's a way for me to give you a steady stream of referrals. Is that something you'd want to help with? So you can use it to build relationships with attorneys by showing them how to use that loophole to their advantage, and it serves your clients. It gives them a valuable piece that shows them what they're up against. And the one thing I skipped over, you color, let's just say it's a list with check boxes on the left. Everything that's legal might be in red, and then everything non-legal may be in green. And then everything that's like strictly the family's responsibility, things that even you can't help with, might be in blue. So you'd have like a color-coded checklist. And, having the opportunity to sit down with an attorney and go through that is a great local education for you. It's a great way to build a lasting referral relationship with that attorney. And it actually is a usable, valuable piece to add to your marketing for your prospects.
So me soliciting probate clients as clients of mine, my responsible broker attorney is in no way.
As long as you're not offering legal services. So just remember, you don't have any clients. Your broker has clients. You're a sub-agent. So they're technically his clients.
Right, but yeah,
but they're not his legal. They're not his legal clients, and you're, as a sub-agent, you're not soliciting legal services. You're going to be careful not to do that. You're soliciting real estate services and other related services, but nothing that would ever, require a law degree or a law license.
Right. So he doesn't have to worry about me soliciting probate clients as long as I'm not presenting him as I guess, I don't know, I really can't refer him then to the clients I pick up as a broker? Wouldn't that be a conflict for him?
You could say, I mean, that's kind of a gray area. Like if somebody really wanted to challenge you, you could say, it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck, right? Like,
Right.
so you have an attorney using a real estate agent to go connect with families and then bringing that back to the house so he can get the legal fees. Like,
Right.
that might be a gray area. I mean, is that a core area of his business anyways? Is he doing estate,
Well, I know he does. I know he does some, but I think probably he could help me get my foot in the door with some other attorneys, and
Yeah.
I think that would be better, because then he wouldn't be involved in any of the legal aspects of the people I'm working with, so he couldn't be accused of soliciting probate clients through me as one of his broker associates.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your sensitivity to this, as I'm sure he does. But in my opinion, I don't think either of you have any real liability here, as long as you're never offering direct legal services. And I don't think you're going to be doing that anyways.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Sure.
All right, last up this week is phone number ending in 7754. You're up last.
Oh, I'm up last. Hello, you guys.
No pressure. We saved the best for last.
So a couple of weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, I called and regarding this potential listing. Well, I got the listing, and then I actually brought her 2 offers, cash offers, and then it turns out that she told me that her attorney, after we've already signed the listing agreement, and after I presented her with the first cash offer, she kind of sat on it for a couple of days. I followed up with her, and then she said that she has not been able to reach her attorney, and then when she finally did, that the attorney told her that the inventory of assets hasn't been completed. But then she said, when we first met, she said that she did have the letter of testimony. So we're kind of just like in limbo, and our listing agreement expires at the end of April, and we basically, I mean, we have 2 cash offers that she's just sitting on, and we don't know what to do. Neither of us know what to do. What do we do? What can we do?
Is she saying her attorney is advising her not to sign the contract?
No, she just said that her attorney has told her that she cannot sell the house because the inventory of assets has not been completed.
Okay. And where are you on completing that, Ms. Seller?
Huh? Excuse me?
Did you ask her? Did you ask her where she was on completing it?
Yes,
Like, what's the roadblock?
Yes, but her attorney has been, completely stonewalling her, and she's been having to call, I mean, I think she told me it took her up to a week, where she called every 48 hours, and it took her a week for her to finally hear from her.
So here's what I think I would do. Personally, I would say, are you available tomorrow around, let's say, 1 o'clock? Great.
Is that me talking to my client? Is that me talking to my client, or the client talking to the attorney?
No, it's you talking to the client. Are you available?
Okay.
Let me swing by and pick you up. We're going to drop by her office. I think, it's like I said when we first spoke, there's a lot of things we do to help families, and this is one that we don't normally have to do, but it sounds to me like this person is the biggest risk, and they're the one that's making the money off of making you wait. So if it's all right with you, let's go over there. Let's see what the holdup is. And I would, walk in there and say, listen, we've got 2 offers, and, you're representing your client. You're supposed to be representing your client's best interest. And we have two legitimate cash buyers sitting here waiting that are about to pull their offers, and it's because you're not communicating with your client. So we just came by to see if we can get this done today, or if we need to move this file to another office. Which do you think is best for your client? And hopefully she'll let you speak, but that's what I would do. The obstacle is the way, run toward it. And they're probably not going to expect that from a real estate professional, and they'll probably get their ass in line really quickly when you put them on the spot.
Okay, so that I was apprehensive on asking her whether or not I can have her attorney's contact information. And then also, my client doesn't live in the same city as I do, and then she works.
Okay.
She whatever she does for work, she travels a lot. So there are times where, you know, I won't hear from her for, you know, maybe 2 days because she is.
So get her to, in the interest of time, I'm going to interrupt you. Sorry. Get her to send you an email that says, you have my authority to speak to the attorney representing docket number, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, regarding the lack of communication that has been holding us up from accepting not 1 but 2 valid cash offers that we're about to lose. Please go handle this for me. And open the conversation with that email. Print it off and say, actually, your client's out of town and she's asked me to step up and figure out what the hell's going on here. We're about to lose these buyers and you have a fiduciary responsibility to this family. Why has this not been done? Why are you not returning her calls?
Okay. Thank you.
Chad, let me ask you a follow-up. I was going to ask a follow-up to that. If she can't get a hold of the attorney, and since the attorney isn't telling her not to sign it, is there a downside to just have the best offer sign it, since the probate's going to have to be completed anyway before it could close? Do you see a downside?
That's also going to hold the attorney. That's also going to hold the attorney accountable. So if you submit a ratified purchase agreement to the court, then if there are pieces missing out of the process, then that's going to hold them accountable, either her or the attorney, whoever's at fault here. Will have to get those missing pieces in place so things can move forward. Now, that's, you know, make sure you give yourself a reasonable closing timeline. Give it a 30 or 45-day closing and make sure the buyer's okay with that. But yeah, you should never let cash offers sit around unsigned if you're okay with the price and terms.
Okay, yeah. This is my first deal. This is my first probate deal. And, you know, I was super excited because I got the appointment, and then I got super excited because I got the listing agreement. And then, of course, once I brought her the first cash offer, I was, like, over the moon. Actually, it was your friend, your partner down in Leander. And here we are, you know, basically, you know, I had to let him know that everything is on hold right now because she doesn't have the attorney hasn't completed the inventory of assets, so my client doesn't even know if she could legally sell the house right now.
Okay. Well, that makes me feel better because I know your buyer's not going to walk away. Aaron will be there when you need him to be there. Okay. But I wouldn't let the attorney know that. I would still hold their feet to the fire and say, this guy's ready to walk away. And, you know, he bought 20 houses yesterday at the auction, and now he doesn't have
it was yesterday?
Yeah.
I wanted to go. I wanted to go on a field trip.
Next month.
All right.
Next month.
And please come back next week and let us know when you get the deal together, and you can be our winner of the week next week. But that's a good way to end the call today. Go ahead. Another question?
Well, not technically. I just think I should be the winner of the week because I got another one. But okay, I'll come back next week.
No, go ahead. You got another deal this week?
I did actually. You know, I did. I did get another deal this week. And this was
another listing?
Another listing, and then I already bought the cash buyer investor, and we're going to close in 2 weeks.
All right.
That's
excellent.
Great.
All right.
Where do you find your buyer on this one?
I'm sorry? Oh.
How did you find the buyer?
He was actually a referral from my broker. And we are now, thankfully now I have 2 cash buyers that I can partner with. So that is super awesome because that happened in like less than a month.
Yeah. Well, great.
Yeah.
All right.
So thank you.
I'll put you in contention. We had 3 great stories today, guys. I think this is one of our best concise questions, great answers, some real, these are more typical kind of deals, they weren't real complicated. You guys just did a real good job on doing what you're supposed to do and getting the properties listed. So congratulations to all 3 of you. I want to thank everybody who took the time to be here today. I want to particularly thank the 9 people that we had actively participate, and I want to challenge each of you, take one idea, one story, one thing that inspired you today, go out and put it into practice and come back and share the results with the group next week. Thank you so much, guys. We will talk to you same time next Thursday. Make it a great week. Take care.